Let me start by saying I love Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's one of the best characters in Star Wars. Charming and handsome, a great leader and friend, doesn't forget to aura farm every step of the way, loyal to the Order, S tier with a lightsaber, the Bombad General himself. But almost all of this is exactly what makes him a bad Jedi. Go ahead and click like and subscribe and we'll get right into it.
I have a bad feeling about this.
So before the Clone Wars, before the corruption of the Republic, back in the High Republic era, the Jedi weren't soldiers. They were explorers, peacekeepers, protectors. Their job was to serve the Force and safeguard the galaxy's balance, not fight wars. But if books aren't your thing, Yoda says something like it in Empire Strikes Back.
A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack.
And Mace Windu says it in Attack of the Clones.
We're keepers of the peace, not soldiers.
But by the time of the prequels, the Jedi had already started to slip. They let the fear of the Sith cause them to get mixed up in the politics on Coruscant and became soldiers of the Republic.
Not soldiers.
And Obi-Wan was caught right in the middle of it. He took out Grievous.
We're keepers of the peace.
He took out Maul.
Not soldiers.
Okay, we get it, you're not soldiers. But seriously, how did Obi-Wan even get here? How did he go from Keeper of the Peace to one of the Republic's deadliest generals? To understand that, we gotta go back to the beginning. One of the earliest defining moments we see in Obi-Wan's life is the death of his master Qui-Gon Jinn in The Phantom Menace. The movies don't say much about how this loss affected Obi-Wan, but when you really think about it, the implications are huge. Qui-Gon had a reputation as a maverick, someone who defied the Council's rulings in favor of his own personal sense of compassion.
Do not defy the Council, Master, not again.
I shall do what I must.
It's why he never sat on the Council, and it's why he'd rig a dice game if it meant rescuing Anakin. Honestly, he was the perfect master for a rule follower like Obi-Wan, the kind of influence that could have opened Obi-Wan's dogmatic perspective and taught him how to truly follow the will of the Force. But losing that free-thinking mentor so early left Obi-Wan vulnerable. Without Qui-Gon's guidance, it was easier for him to fall deeper into the Council's dogma and cling to the Order harder than ever. And let's be real, this wasn't just a personal loss. Darth Maul was the first Sith Lord the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years. That alone would have lit a fire under the Jedi, not just Obi-Wan, to rally around the Order and take the fight to the Sith. But Obi-Wan's blind loyalty gets so bad that he stumbles onto the secret production of a clone army on a hidden planet, follows the lead back to Geonosis, gets himself captured, and ends up face to face with his Jedi granddaddy Count Dooku, who flat out tells him the truth.
What if I told you that the Republic was now under the control of the Dark Lord of the Sith?
Dooku lays it out plain, and just look what Obi-Wan says back.
No, that's not possible. The Jedi would be aware of it.
And when he mentions it to the Council, Yoda's basically like, Dooku's dark side now, so he's lying. And that was that. Obi-Wan's loyalty kept him from ever questioning the system he served, even when the truth was handed to him. But as much as his blind loyalty hurt things, it's nothing compared to his biggest failure, Anakin. Again, looking at it from the beginning, in The Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan was still a Padawan when Qui-Gon found Anakin, who was already too old to be trained as a Jedi. But it was Qui-Gon's dying wish, so Obi-Wan was determined to honor it. Under these very unusual circumstances, he took Anakin as his apprentice, and he was even willing to defy the Council to make this mistake.
Without the approval of the Council, if I must.
So what are we left with? A too young and inexperienced Obi-Wan taking on a too old and overly powerful Anakin? And his only lifeline is a compromised Jedi Order that's already losing its way? To be fair, our boy Obi-Wan here was dealt a rough hand. But you know what they say, when life hands you lemons, make a rotisserie chicken out of your Padawan. But honestly, from a certain point of view, you could argue that Obi-Wan was setting Anakin up for failure with some of the irresponsible choices he made, like assigning him to protect Padme alone, after watching him act like this.
So have you grown more beautiful, I mean.
Like, what did he think was going to happen? And let's be real, they're connected in the Force. He had to have a pretty good idea of what Anakin was feeling, but he sent him off anyway.
I do hope he doesn't try anything foolish.
And we all know how that turned out.
I'm pregnant.
He loses to Dooku twice. The first time leaves Anakin, who's still just a Padawan, alone to face an ex-Jedi Master turned Sith Lord with a reputation as one of the best duelists in the galaxy. And it costs him his arm. The second time Obi-Wan gets dusted quickly, Anakin wins the fight, but he's left wide open for Palpatine to sway him into unjustly killing Dooku.
Do it.
And let's not forget when Obi-Wan personally asked Anakin, on behalf of the Republic no less, to spy on the one person who seemed to understand him the most, Chancellor Palpatine. And I don't even need to go into detail about how much of a lowball that is. So while he's off taking Grievous's life in the name of the Republic, Anakin ends up on his knees in Palpatine's office.
Hold on, pause.
And by the time Obi-Wan shows up, Darth Vader's already taken over. He ends up having to watch the youngling slayings like some kind of twisted highlight reel. And what's really crazy when you think about it, the only decisive action Obi-Wan ever actually takes is a mission assigned to him by Yoda to go kill Anakin.
I will not kill Anakin.
Reluctant at first, but he didn't need a ton of convincing.
I will do what I must.
So they have the greatest duel in the history of the galaxy, and Obi-Wan makes probably the biggest error of them all. He leaves Vader alive. And not out of compassion, no, let's be real. This is a proven capable killer. He leaves him alive because of his attachment to his friend, and the galaxy paid the price.
It's all Obi-Wan's fault.
But like I said, I love Obi-Wan. But the list just goes on. He goes into hiding until Bail calls him out to help rescue a young Princess Leia. He faces Vader again, who he sure isn't Anakin anymore, and leaves him alive again. Then he goes back into hiding until a now adult Princess Leia calls him out. He fails to tell Luke about his dad or his sister, but does tell him after Luke finds out the truth on his own that he has to kill his dad, even though Obi-Wan neglected to do it himself twice. And honestly, that's not even the end of it, because when you really think about it, Anakin's always saving Obi-Wan. When you look at these scenes...